Welcome to episode 32 of Lifts. We've just come back from a holiday weekend, bank holiday Monday in England and Memorial Day in America. Mo, what did you get up to in your extended weekend?
Well, it's been a bit of a recurring tradition ever since, as a lot of people know, I grew up in New Jersey. And when my sister and I grew up, in fact, I'm still growing up, but my parents, I think better thing is when we left the very expensive state of New Jersey, my parents said, we're getting older, our kids are out. Why don't we move somewhere? So we have a lot of family in Houston. So for the last couple of years, we've been visiting my parents in Houston on this weekend. So this year, my sister flew over from LA. So for the first time, my parents had all of their grandchildren in one place, which is seemingly, we had the pandemic and all that. So it's been harder to do. So I had just gotten back from Houston with limited travel interruptions yesterday, but had a great time in Texas. It was very hot. I keep on forgetting how hot it gets in Texas because no one talks about it because people who live there get used to it. But I had a great weekend. How are you, Matthew?
Yeah, we actually dragged my kids. There's a Korean spa near us, and they have this sort of hot and cold therapy, massage, different steam room, the salt saunas where you lay on the floor in all these salt rocks, and we decided to spend the afternoon there yesterday, which was really good, and I felt I slept fantastic last night. And
what was your sleep score?
My sleep. I'm gonna show you just so you actually,
because I might not believe it.
You actually believe me because it's normally so bad. Yeah, last night, and this is pretty unique for me because I'm always pretty low. So yesterday I got a 89. I don't know if you can see that. Like 89 sleep. That's pretty
good.
That just shows you.
Well done, Matt.
That's good. Well,
it's got to be a record.
I got 91 one of the nights because when I'm at my parents, it's funny. It is a little, even though you have all the kids around you, they like cook and they take care of you, and your mom still wants to feed you. This is a very Southeast Asian thing. They want to feed you, make sure you're taken care of. It's kind of like going to the spa. It really is, because all the concerns to have at running a house and a business just whisper away when I'm at my parents' home. So, but that's awesome. That's a lot of fun. It sounds like it was more for you and Wendy than the kids. Did the kids enjoy it?
Yeah, they loved it. Yeah, we're gonna make it add it a regular thing on the calendar. So I definitely recommend doing a family day at the spa.
I love that. We actually have a big Korean spa here in Northern Virginia. It's about 30 minutes away. I've been wanting to go. It's a huge facility, right? So I've been wanting to go check it out. We have a special guest on this week's episode of Lifts, Eric Malzone. Eric is the CEO, founder of a very good podcast. I recommend you all subscribe, called The Future of Fitness. Matt, I believe you've been on it as well.
I have, yeah. I think a couple of times now, Eric. Is that? Yeah,
a couple of times.
Yeah,
I think I've only been on it once. Actually, no, maybe twice. I think once I did by myself, once I did as a duo.
Yeah.
And you also are the host of a newer podcast called Athletics Unscripted. Actually, really nicely done. I've had a chance to listen to all the episodes so far. And you also have an exciting venture that you started, I believe, this year called the Podcast Collective. Matthew, are we a part of the Podcast Collective? I feel like if we're not, we need to be a part of that. We are.
Yeah, you guys
are. I think there was a first kind of meet up that I went to, which was at Ursa this year in Los Angeles. There was a big group of podcasters there in just before the event started, and that went on for us to brainstorm an idea with Lise about a collaboration in New York, which we can't share yet, but it's going to be a very exciting project that hopefully we'll be all doing towards the end of the year as well.
Wait, hold on. I feel like I am not invited to this. I was not at this.
You are. You've just not got the brief yet.
You're invited. We're always invited, Mo.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna brush that aside. No, I'm kidding. I think I left Ursa early this year, so I'm sure it happened after I had to leave Ursa a little bit early. But Eric, we're excited to have you on.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's an honor, and I think you guys might be two of the best dressed gentlemen within the fitness industry. So I have to say, every time I see you guys at events, it always holds me to a higher standard, which I appreciate, always pushing the bar. So it's great to see you guys love what you guys are doing here, and yeah, happy to jam with you. So let's do this.
So let's go straight into the first story then, Mo.
Yeah, the topic is going to be around AI. In fact, we've got a couple of AI themes to talk about. It's no secret, we predict in our predictions episode at the end of last year. In fact, Eric, you also did one where you talked about AI as being a key influence on technologies and fitness in 2024. But that's been shifting. We're almost 6 months into the year, and we're seeing how AI is being used shift. And one of the interesting things that I found is really the influence that AI has had on content. And content, so before, everyone thought that because we have AI, we don't have a need to create new content because I can just go to Chat GPT, I could do a search, and voila, it's going to give me the answer. In reality, AI has actually driven the need for more content. And the first article we have up for this episode is about Reddit. And Reddit is giving OpenAI access to its data in a licensing deal. OpenAI will become a Reddit advertising partner as well. But what this means is that content on Reddit can now be scraped to help train OpenAI's large language model. And why this is relevant when you're looking at OpenAI and all the other major players who are building AI engines and building large language models is because content, including content like this podcast, can now be ingested by AI tools and be served up as a part of an answer that AI gives. The difference, though, and I think this might change in legislation, is that you don't see the source. So when you Google something and you search something, you can at least say that, okay, this is coming from this source, this is coming from the New York Times, this is coming from a commentator. You get to see that. In AI, the model the model gets trained on content, and you don't really know what kind of content people post on Reddit. And I am a Reddit user, and you see all types of things on Reddit. And I don't know if those are things that people would generally talk about. And I think that people in general, for example, take a very friendly, at least 99% people take a friendly, authentic, and a very positive tone. That's not the case on Reddit. If you go read Reddit, they're very opinionated. They're trying to take one side or the other side. And now we're training this AI model with that content. And I'm wondering, Eric, from your perspective, being a creator, and that is you are a creator, I would say, in even in larger cases than Matthew and I, in terms of content, how do you view AI, the influence of AI? How can other creators be a part of what's happening on the AI world? Because at first, a lot of creators thought that they might be out of a job or they might be less relevant. But really, what we're seeing is that creators today and in the future are more relevant because of AI, not less.
Yeah, I think about AI every day, guys. I mean, it's and I use it every working day. I have Chat GPT for open. I guess allow me to just kind of zoom out. I'll give my macro perspective, and I can zoom back in on your question, Mo. But the way I look at AI right now, the way I describe it at dinner parties, which when I usually get my wife's punching me in the knee, like stop talking about this stuff. But it's like I think right now we're on a treadmill of AI as humanity. Some people are jumping on, some people aren't. Right now, it's kind of at a slow, brisk walk, and it's going to continue to speed up very quickly. And only a certain amount of people are going to be able to stay on that treadmill due to the advancements. I mean, Mo, how fast this is accelerating. And a lot of novices are completely oblivious to what's going on. So that being said, I think when you look at it from a content creator perspective, I think I use it in so many different ways. I'm writing a course. I use it as my editor. I use it as, like a long course, right? And then I'm also, do daily, if not, weekly, if not daily content where it helps me, upload a transcript of a podcast. It'll give me bullet points. I can write that newsletter. Then I can do a LinkedIn post, saves me hours of time. On the downside, it's not as authentically me as I would want it to be. So there's a trade-off, right? Like I think there's enough of me out there within the content of everything I've ever written, everything 800 plus podcast interviews out there. It's like there's enough of me where it could, give it more character, but it's not authentically me. So there's a trade-off for my time for my genuine writing, which I think is kind of a conflict a lot of content creators are having right now. It's like, oh, could I do the little cheat button, right? And hit it and then have that easy button and have the content flow out quicker. So I think that's kind of the current state of it. But I also believe that as it advances more quickly and people are learning how to use it better, that fewer people are going to be doing the best work. So that's my kind of my larger take. But the overall thing is like, I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows yet. And that's the honest answer. But that's not very fun for these kind of conversations. Just say, I don't know. So I don't know. That's my kind of macro level take on it, on how I use it and how I just plan on using it every day and trying to figure out something a little bit new, staying updated with what they're doing. I'm listening to podcasts about it or getting resources about it because I think there's a million ways I'm not using it. So yeah, that's my current take on it, but could change tomorrow.
Well, Eric, you mentioned that it's not very you. I downloaded the Chat GPT 4.0. I think that's what it's 4.0 or 4.0 that came out the other day, watching a video on YouTube about it last week that I shared with Mo. And one of the things that it didn't used to be able to do is to learn anything about you. It just kind of ended at the end of the conversation. Clearly now it does have the ability to do that, and you can actually teach it and you can tell it to remember certain things about you. I did a little a thing at the weekend where I downloaded, just for fun, like 6 months worth of my diary. I uploaded it and I said, wow, can you pull out like 10 key themes, try to understand a little bit more about my personality, and then figure out which things that would be relevant for you to know about me in terms of future conversations. And so what it seems to be able to do is does seem to learn about you. And I'm just wondering how good it's going to get quite quickly at being able to do exactly what you've said, so that the difference between the real you and the AI you is very slim, and also being able to predict things, because there's certain, like I put in some things like some certain values both in business and personal, and in terms of how you think, your mind's. And my guess is there's going to be certain themes that it can pick up in terms of that, and so what are your thoughts if that matches a lot closer? Where will you sit then, and how does that change? How do you think that will change your role if there's a lot more of a closer match?
Yeah, that's questions for me, Matthew.
Yeah, or either of you, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to get Mo's take on this too, but I think you're right. It is capturing more and more information the more we have out there. To kind of get to the point too is like the article that you mentioned, Mo, like the amount of data that it's pulling in from Reddit, like that's not quality data, right? It's garbage in, garbage out. So it's the same kind of thing as like, well, even if it is giving information about me, how good is that information? I mean, there's classic, like, and I'm a Joe Rogan fan, which is probably no shock to anybody, but that, he has fake advertisements using his name, voice, and likeness coming out all the time. He can't even keep up with it, right? So there's the good and the bad. Yes, I could probably, if it got really good at being Eric Malzone, which is a horrifying thought, like for everybody, like, what does that mean? Like, who gets to use that? Because I have access to it, but I'm not the only person. If it completely duplicates Mo, it's just not Mo that can use that. Anybody can use it, right? So once it's uploaded into the GPT, whatever data source it has, the World Wide Web of information, like it's out there. So yes, that's exciting, but I also think that's kind of the carrot that's moving us forward into this world of like the unknown consequence of what it could be. So yeah, Mo, what's your take on this?
Well, I think from a creator perspective, and I'm a very new creator. Both you and Matthew have been working on content, creating content, monetizing content for much long time than I have. But YouTube today is one of the best monetization engines for creators, and some creators make a very good living on YouTube. And in fact, if you had over 1 million followers or so, you can afford a staff of 10 to 15 people, and you could really build a high quality production. And AI somewhat threatens that for a lot of reasons. One, I'm sure this time about Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI creating an AI voice chat tool that is kind of in her name and likeness. So it sounds very much like her character in the movie Her. At the same time, how do you validate what the tool is telling you? So instantly, when ChatGPT came out, people would go in, they would do a search. In our example, they might say, "Give me a program to go run a 5K." Right? Not downloading the Couch to 5K app, not listening to a running coach. It might say, "Give me a strength building program to put on muscle, and here's information about me." But where's that data coming from? What philosophy or training method are they following? And I think that, so that's one issue. And you kind of, talked about that. I think the other issue is also compensation. As I mentioned, YouTube is a great tool to monetize if you are a content creator. Well, how do you get credit for that? Right? If you are putting something out there on your site for free, especially if you're a personal trainer or if you're a gym or something where you're providing a service, the AI tool could potentially take your practice and in your engine, and we have no way today to track that accountability. So I think it is prudent that, as a community, we understand that and say, if we're going to put something out on the internet, if we're going to publish a blog article, if we're going to publish a paper, there's a very good chance that that could be ingested by an AI tool, help train a model, and such as that then is now available to a broader audience, and you're not getting credit for it, you're not getting paid for it. So I think from a creative perspective, that does need to change. But in the meantime, if I'm a consumer, and again, I'm a fan of AI, I'm a fan of the tools that are out there, but using tools like ChatGPT for things where I need to rely on good information, on facts, on and understand where the sources come from, I might be doing that less and less. I'll probably be doing more of what you're doing, which is using it as a form to, as a way to edit something, or Matthew, to your example of analyzing your calendar and giving some output around that. But as a source of information, I'm not ready to trust what's coming out of that. And Matthew, you've got another interesting take on it too. You sent me an article over the weekend, which is the new product launched by a UK-based company called Pencil. And AI has also changed the ability of how we reach people. So what this tool Pencil does, it's built by a company called the Brand Tech Group, and it does the creation of ads for Amazon, Facebook, Google, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok using AI. So if you think about the job of creating ads before, where you have to do it manually, Eric, I think right before this, call, or in the room, we were talking about, reach and how we kind of create content, who we target. Actually, Matthew, that might have been you and I talking about before Eric joined.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, like now a tool like Pencil could turbocharge that. And instead of us trying to work with another agency to figure out how do we target in terms of audience and engagement, we can now use AI. And in this example, this tool Pencil is also going to change how we market ourselves as well. I read some comments around this. I'm curious to get all of your thoughts on it. Is one of the feedback comments that I've seen, Matt, after you sent me this article is, are we now just going to get spammed more? So instead of having people in like Ethiopia, right, calling us or spamming us via email, or kind of concerned around that, or I'm not picking on Ethiopia. It could be any country where you get spammed from. Is AI now going to replace that for us with the spam calls, spam text, spam emails?
The wait is over. Our new Escape Fitness catalog has landed. This is the essential guide to all of the latest product innovations that are shaping the future of functional training. Bigger and better than ever, this year's catalog is 190 pages, jam-packed with everything from eye-catching, bespoke functional training frames to some of the latest strength training equipment. So sign up today to receive the digital version today. So what are you waiting for? Go to escapefitness.com now.
A guy in the interview, he's a British guy, been in the advertising business for most of his career, very, very smart gentleman. And they asked him that question, actually, and he said, well, his response was that you're going to get a lot more of what you're interested in as opposed to not what you're interested in, which I guess would be a sensible thing for him to say. But in some respects, I think that's what's going to happen, because like we don't create a ton of ads, but if we're creating a product, we'll probably create 5 to 10 variations of that and then test them. And I think what this new tool can do is to create instantly hundreds of variations of the ad to every different person, and instead of guessing what they want to hear and what the headline should look like and what the image should look like and how to present the information and in what order, etc. Like this will do that for you, and it will create the winners, and then it will supply more of the winners to the people that are engaging with it and less to the ones that are not. So I think it will probably clean up the advertising process to a level that could never have even been imagined before. So I think from that perspective, it's extremely exciting, and something as a business owner I'm very, very keen to figure out. But as you say, what will be the negative? I think the negative will be the companies that have not figured out how to use this will very quickly get drowned out by the people that have figured out exactly how to use it. Because at the end of the day, it's it's being able to get the right message to the right person in as cost effectively as possible. And I think that's going to radically change.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things where if you don't embrace it, like the wave is coming, but we could like it or not like it, but the wave is coming. Eric, have you used any? I know you use AI to kind of edit and review some stuff, but from a podcast perspective, have you used AI to market anything?
I haven't, and not yet. And it's something that we're looking at in Q3, especially for the collective. Like if we can find really good solutions for the community of podcasters that we have and help them amplify that. But, I think it comes down to, like, from the consumer standpoint, is we all hate being sold to, but we love finding what we want. And that's kind of what Matt's alluding to, is like, I was just anecdotally looking for a new pair of mountain bike shorts this weekend. And all of a sudden my news feed was filled with like, oh, that's a cool brand. Never heard of that one. Like, I'm going to check them out. Right. So I was kind of happy for it. And from my understanding too, of like this technology, I think I was listening to something about this yesterday, was it, to your point, Matt, it's like, it's also like a living document, like the amount of how they can change the copy and the actual imagery and the videos so quickly in real time, that accelerates the whole feedback loop that we would have normally within like an agency work of like, okay, let's test an ad for a month and see what happens. And then we'll kind of tweak it out. Like that's all going to happen instantaneously over time. And yeah, it's wild. I mean, how fast this stuff is coming out is insane. So I'm looking for, I mean, I think you're right, Mo. You gotta be paying full attention to this stuff. Otherwise you're going to miss huge advantages within the marketplace, no matter really where you are. I can't think of an industry or a vertical or a service or anything that's going to be not affected by this. Yeah, maybe plumbing, I don't know, but even from an advertising standpoint, you have to be paying attention, right?
I think the big thing that's coming up that I've certainly learned from people with all these different products is the skill is going to be the person who understands that, I don't know whether they call them prompt readers or prompt creators, but yeah, prompt engineers. Like really, I think one of the best things you can do is use it every day for something, because it really teaches you what that means to ask questions and how to ask them, and how sophisticated it is if you can understand how to put those prompts together. But whether it's advertising or creating sales copy or brainstorming business ideas, one of the things you can actually do now, and I can see this happen very, very quickly, is a lot of time you have a mentor, and essentially a mentor really asks you good questions. They don't tell you answers, but they ask you very, very good questions, and they get you to think about it, put your questions down, and to create some specific actions. Well, chat already is at a level where if you want to speak to a mentor about a business idea, you can actually have a real conversation, because it can talk back to you, and you can thrash out ideas instantly whenever you want, and you can remember those ideas, and you can go back to them at any point in the future. So I think it's really just trying to sort of figure out how you can use it for whatever you want to do. And it's like everything, it can be used for good, or it could be used for bad. You've just got to, but it is what it is, and you've got to figure out like where it's placed.
The other thing is, could we also be forcing AI into something that might not need AI? Now, I think what Pencil is doing in ad creation is a relevant and strong case for AI use. But our next story here, I think I'd love to get your both takes on this, especially yours, Matthew, being that you're in this industry. There's a new startup, well, not new, but relatively new startup called Kabata, who I've been following and tracking about for the last couple of years. They raised another 5 million. I believe this is on addition to their last raise, to create these AI powered dumbbells. We have an article up here from Atlatech News, and it states that next gen strength training is gaining steam. Kabata, an immersive workout platform, has raised 5 million in a seed round to further develop its AI powered dumbbells, which adapt to users' progress. My immediate take about this is two things, right? One is home fitness is facing a tremendous amount of headwinds. If I already have dumbbells, is it enough for me to want to upgrade them into these smart AI powered dumbbells? Second, the whole AI, and I'm a technologist, just to be clear, but trying to force AI into rep counting, into AI vision, into form tracking, we've been trying this now, including us at SweatWorks, included, and working with various partners for about the last 6 to 7 years. And the rationale that we get back is that, well, it's getting more accurate, it's getting better. I think it's at a pretty darn good place right now in terms of accuracy. I use an AI tool for strength training at my home gym here, and the rep tracking has gotten incredibly well. The form tracking has gotten incredibly well. But you know what? I don't care. I just want to do the workout, get the thing done, know that I'm making progress, know that I'm lifting heavier this week than I am last week. And I don't care if I did 10 reps or 12 reps, as long as I'm feeling a great pump, I'm feeling exhausted, I'm feeling motivated. It hasn't done anything from an engagement or a motivational perspective. So, I mean, Matthew, Escape makes a fantastic pair of dumbbells. In fact, my father's clubhouse at where he stays in Texas has an Escape rig, because I was working out on your product when I was visiting him in Texas. But you and I have talked a lot about kind of how do we thoughtfully put AI into strength, the functional strength. You've got these AI powered dumbbells. And in fact, I might have told you a year or two ago, let's not do this. So would love to get your thoughts on these AI powered dumbbells.
Scott Galloway had an interesting chart. I think it was on Twitter, and he was talking about the amount of money that's gone into these AI companies and the performance of them in relation to the money that they're raising. And it seems like at the moment it's a little bit the .com bubble, where you get these crazy valuations that anything's got AI in it, and many of them fail to deliver. And I think that's an important thing to be aware of. I certainly wouldn't mind finding a way to raise 5 million for a much better idea than smart dumbbells, if I'm honest with you. But I think it's right. It's like, what's the program? What's the program? What's the problem that we're trying to solve here? I think there's some really amazing, meaningful problems that we can solve using AI in the fitness world, whether that's clubs trying to sell memberships or people trying to engage members because they can't, they don't have the amount of staff to take care of all the processes. But I also think that there's a lot of ideas that will come on the bandwagon that will raise a lot of money, and I think it will, like everything, it will sort of get people to really question whether this is a good idea until there's a correction. But that's my thoughts. Like Eric, you interview a lot of people in this space with different ideas. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, to put it bluntly, it doesn't excite me. I kind of what you're saying. I mean, I've seen some really good partnerships, a Sensei and Power Block doing something where it's like, okay, here's a legacy brand that has a ton of equipment. We can add this extra feature. But does the feature of AI dumbbells stand on its own as a really good consumer product? I mean, it doesn't. I just don't see a lot of people getting excited about it. I think you're spot on. As like right now, you're looking to raise money, you got to throw AI on. Just like 3 years ago, you got to throw connected in, and that's just the way it is, right? And I mean, I don't know what we have to do to learn from our lessons during the pandemic of overestimating the size of the home fitness market, specifically to connected or anything like that. It's like we've done this. I thought that was we proved out that this was just these are overinflated valuations by far. Right. And here we are kind of going. So that's my first. I could be missing something, and I hope for their company that I am, but overall, it just doesn't get me excited. So yeah, that's it. That's my Shark Tank pass, I guess.
I think it's we're just about up on our time at the moment, but it'd be good to get some final thoughts on AI focused episode. Mo, what would you start with?
Well, I think it's incredibly frothy right now. So it's very easy to go into a very deep well, and I would even call it a black hole in AI. And it's very easy to get confused and overwhelmed by all the things that you need to do. We've said this on this podcast many times. Don't try to find a problem with AI, try to solve a problem with AI. And when you look at the last story that we just covered, and resonating back on the points that you both mentioned, one, I think in this example, they're to solve a problem that might not even be a problem. People don't really care. If you've done the user research and the studies, you would find that it's not a major issue. So just be thoughtful around how you are investing in AI.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying this all the time, but the only conclusion I get to with AI at this point is I just don't know. I just don't know yet. I'm not in the trenches. I know there's a lot of smart people working on AI. There's a lot of regulation trying to be, put around AI, and it just doesn't seem to be moving fast enough because the technology is moving too fast. I was asked the other day during an interview, of like, someone should create a course for trainers to use AI. I'm like, well, you could, but I've written courses, and by the time you do all the research, you do the first draft, you throw in all the annotations necessary, that course will be obsolete already. So like, I think that's the kind of speed. And I think, to your point, Mo has a really good, simple approach, is like, don't look for problems with AI, just try to solve problems on your daily basis with AI, see how it can benefit your business. But also, on the other hand, keep your eyes up and see what's going on at the macro level with trends within industries. My wife has been in digital marketing and advertising for 18 years, and she's worked her way up to a very nice role within the company. And we're already thinking like 3 years from now, like, we're going to have alternative plans, for what you're maybe doing for your career. Who knows? So I think there's a little bit short term, also kind of keep looking out in the future, like, how is this going to long term affect? Because if we're thinking 10 years from now, it may just be 5 of how a significant shift happens. It's happening really fast. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not the smartest guy in the room here, but I do think that we just have to be paying attention as best we can.
I was thinking as we went through this, there was a interview I was listening to at the weekend on YouTube with Jeff Bezos, and they were talking about, how does he look at the future based on, what their company is, which you would think is extremely innovative and at the cutting edge. And the question that he said he asked a lot is, what isn't going to change? And start there, because there was a lot of things, obviously, in the Amazon business that isn't going to change. People want low prices, people want quick delivery, all of these kind of things that are going to sort of continue as time goes on. And if you can find ways to continue to do that, but to do that better, that's probably where you should spend your time on, as opposed to things that you don't understand, because it is changing so quickly. And then the second one, I think I'd like to do it, within the next few weeks, Mo. But it relates to your point. There was an interview about blockchain and being able to capture your identity and how you can take that around different places, but your own digital identity. And I think if you look at what happened on Amazon on a product perspective, you put a product on Amazon knows everything about what sells, who engages with it, how quickly it sells, unit volume, and that kind of stuff. And then you get a lot of people that, whether it's Amazon themselves doing it on their basics line, or somebody else that will basically take those products, make a small iteration, repackage it, and deliver it as their own. And then the creator technically loses everything. And I can kind of see it happening in the content space as well, where you put all your information to AI and it spurts it out in a slightly different format, and you don't get any credit from that. And I think whether it's your visual images, your digital imagery, or your copy or anything like that, I think there's going to be more of an appreciation of having the ability to demonstrate your authentic content. And I think technology is going to allow you to create some sort of digital thumbprints on that, so that if it comes up, whether it's your voice or your image or something you said, it would be able to track it back to you. And those are probably things that creators want to be thinking about, is how they can start learning some of that, how that technology works, so you can make sure that your stuff doesn't get sort of regurgitated as someone else.
And the one thing I would add, and I apologize for being in and out here with poor Wi-Fi, do not change locations when you're recording a podcast. Eric, that should be a podcast collective tip number 1.
Yeah, right.
I'm in my wife's office right now, for those of you who are on video and watching us on video. But I would add is, if you are a creator and if you have a following, and Eric, to your point with your wife, but think about what's next. Think about, if you're going to continue down this path, what does monetization for you look like? Because I do think that AI could also be an opportunity as well for you, if you plan ahead and not do rash decisions.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Thanks, Eric. And I would recommend, if you haven't heard of the Future of Fitness podcast, check it out. He's got some great guests and really unique perspective on everything in the health and fitness space and more. So please check out Eric. Appreciate you joining us today. And if anybody gets any value whatsoever, then to allow us to keep doing more of these, we'd love to hear your comments. Give us a like, and please share it with a few other people so that we can get this out to more people. Mo, anything else?
Eric, thanks so much for joining. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun, you guys. Thank you much. I really appreciate it, and I've been following this forever, so it's always fun to talk on these topics, and hopefully people learn something and can take it today and make it useful. So really appreciate the platform, guys.
Thanks very much.